All right, UFC Fight Night, Sandhagen versus Nurmagamedov is in the books, and I mean, it was cool. It was cool, but we get into that. We take a look at those fights and who we think that they should be matched up with afterwards. We also take a look at what the UFC has said about that UFC 304 card being in the middle of the night. Let's dig into it. So UFC Fight Night on ABC, it was pretty good. I mean, well, pretty good is probably too strong. It was okay. They had 4 finishes on the card, and normally in fight nights we normally get a lot more finishes than that. But you know, sometimes you get competitive fights and there aren't ways for these things to be finished, so it happens. But overall, I think I give the card a B-. It had some strong names on the card, and some of those names didn't perform up to par, per se. But nevertheless, I think that it was a good showing, and I can appreciate what time that card came on. For me, Central Standard Time, it came on at 11 and finished at about 5, which, I mean, that's perfectly fine for me. I have no issues with that. I mentioned before that in chats that, you know, for the US viewers, on Saturday, a card at that time may interfere with college football when that season rolls around, which is very, very soon. But nevertheless, right now, it's a really good time frame for us. But the UFC did, in the post-fight press conference, have something to say about that Manchester card.
We had done it once before. I think it was Bisping and Henderson.
Yep.
Yeah. And so we knew it worked. The arena was great. I mean, you know, you left and it was sunny out, and I don't think anyone had left prior to that main event. So will we do it again? I'm not sure, but it was also a formula that worked.
Was it successful though? He said it was successful, but was it? I mean, I don't know. I do know that from people that I know who were in the arena, there were a lot of people who were dozing off and sleep at, you know, during the Leon versus Bilal fight. At least that's what people are saying from in the arena. I think, and I'm not a promoter, but this is just what I think should be the case. I think that you have to service the people who are in the arena first, and then you expand from there. I know you have to, from Dana's perspective, think of all people involved, but if the people who are there aren't having a good time because of, you know, their circadian rhythm is saying that they should go to sleep, I think that that's a problem. I know that there are a lot of hoops that you have to jump through in order to make sure that the right people are satisfied, and the right people I'm talking about are ESPN and Disney. But I think that if they would have had a little bit more forethought, they may have been able to at least push this card back a few hours to make it a little bit easier on the fighters and the people who were actually there that bought, you know, those expensive tickets to watch these fights, that they would have more energy in the arena. I mean, were they even serving coffee? They should have been serving coffee along with beer in that arena. I don't know, man. I think that that was a misstep, in my opinion, for the UFC, but whatever. Maybe they'll get it right, maybe they won't. So about Tony Ferguson. So Tony Ferguson looked more like Turd Ferguson to me in there.
Hey, check out the podium. Look at this.
Mr. Reynolds has apparently changed his name to Turd Ferguson.
Yeah, that's right. Turd Ferguson. It's a funny name.
At no point did he show any competence of being a good fighter anymore. In previous fights, I feel like he did show a little bit, even if it was fleeting, he showed a little bit of the Tony that we know as far as his ability to strike and things like that. But this was not that at all. He definitely showed that he should have retired a few fights ago, but we all know that. But at this point, I don't even put the fault on Tony anymore. I put the fault on the UFC for continuing to book him. And I put the fault on his coaches and his family for not having an intervention to get this man to save some of the brain cells that he has left without going in there and taking any more damage.
I've waited over 15 years for this moment. People tell me that you are the champ. The champ of what? I still love you.
You know, put him out of his misery with a rear naked choke, which to me was like the best case scenario for this fight. I was hoping that he wasn't going to get chinned, and he didn't, thank goodness. And I think that Michael Chiesa had some opportunities to do that, and he didn't. So I was very happy about that. But I do think that he needs to put that other glove in there. I know he put one down. He needs to put the other one down too and let it go and move on to the next phase of his life, because he deserves it. He definitely deserves it. Moving on in the card, Mackenzie Dern got a victory over Lupe Godinez. And I think that her striking continues to improve. I know a lot of people give her a lot of grief for her striking. I think that it's stepping up. I think it's moving in the right direction. Her striking defense is what I have an issue with. Anytime that she threw strikes and tried to move back, she was directly on the center line with her head stuck up in the air. And that's exactly how she got caught against Jessica Andrade. And Lupe was catching her on the exits as well. It just wasn't as consequential as getting hit by Jessica Andrade. But nevertheless, I do think that Mackenzie showed that she definitely belongs in that middle tier of the division. And because of that, you would think that she would be able to take a fight with somebody in the top 6, but unfortunately for her, the majority of the people in the top 6 she's already faced and lost against. So in order to prove worthiness to fight them again, in my opinion, she needs to fight down one more time. And I think the perfect matchup for her would be the winner of Luana Pinheiro against Jillian Robertson. They were recently booked to fight, and I think the winner of that one, if Mackenzie is to fight them and get the victory over them, then perhaps she can fight up and put herself into title contention with a win over somebody in the top 6, top 5 area. Moving forward, we got Shara Bullet, who was the co-main, against Mikhail Oleksiejczuk. And this fight went pretty much like everybody said it was going to go. You got Shara Bullet with the kicks, and you got Oleksiejczuk with the hands. And it was just a matter of, can he get inside and put some damage on Shara, or was Shara going to be able to stay on the outside? And for the majority of the fight, Shara stayed on the outside. He did some nice work with his elbows, and you know, his kicks are always going to be pretty impressive. What I have yet to see from him is the finishing ability. I haven't seen him really hurt somebody. I haven't seen a lot of power behind his kicks, even though his persona says that he should have that kind of power. I haven't seen it as of yet. That said, he did convincingly beat Oleksiejczuk, and he puts himself in a weird position in the middleweight division. The middleweight division is pretty impressive. It's pretty deep at this point. You got Gregory Rodriguez coming off a victory, and he's not even ranked. And we all know who he is and what he can do. So there's fighters outside of the top 15 that Shara would definitely have issues with and definitely struggle with. But that's where he is right now. And because of that, you have to give him a matchup that's appropriate. And I think that a good matchup for him would be against Ikram Aliskerov. Ikram is coming off of getting destroyed by Robert Whittaker within a round. But I think that isn't indicative of who he is as a fighter. I think he's a little bit better than that. And I think that Shara Bullet against Ikram would be a pretty interesting matchup. And you can even put this at UFC 308. You know that Ashar Bullet's going to have issues fighting in Vegas and in New York. I do think that he'll be able to fight in Florida, but we don't have a Florida card on the books at this point. So if you want to get him some more action, throw him on that UFC 308 card. I think that would be dope. And you know Ikram is ready to step in whenever. So I think that would be a pretty impressive fight. So moving to the bantamweight division, Deiveson Figueiredo beat Marlon Chito Vera in a fight that was interesting, but it wasn't necessarily exciting per se. But it did kind of go the way that the majority of people thought it was going to go. Chito was going to start slow. Deiveson was going to use some grappling to set up his hands later in the fight, and that's exactly what he did. Later in the fight, he actually showed that he has the power that could translate from flyweight to bantamweight, and he apparently kind of dropped Chito. Deiveson shows that he's kind of a player in the division. I'm not fully convinced that he's championship level just yet. I think that I would like to see him in one more fight against a very, very good bantamweight, and then I would be convinced that he's on that level. And I think the fight for him would be against Peter Yan. Deiveson Figueiredo against Peter Yan. I think that would be an amazing fight. And if he beats Peter Yan, and I mean beats him without Peter Yan slipping on a banana peel, getting injured, anything like that, like he beats him, like you can't deny him being in that title mix at that point. If he beats him, and I think that he's right there in that round robin of Sean O'Malley, Merab, Umar, and in this point, it would be him. So I think he has one more fight and he could start to really call for a title. Which moves me to the main event. Umar Nurmagamedov soundly beat Corey Sandhagen. It wasn't a destruction by any means, but he clearly won that fight. And Corey Sandhagen, he gave a good account of himself, but there's definitely some areas that I'm sure that he's taken back, that he knows that he could have gone a little bit harder or done some things tactically different. But Umar definitely showed that he's elite. And because of that, I think that he has nowhere to go but a title fight against the winner of Sean O'Malley against Merab Dvalishvili. I think he should probably be there to hammer that home. I think that would be a good fight too, no matter who it is that wins that fight. I still favor Sean, at least now, a month out from the fight. I still favor Sean, but you never know. Merab has a clear game plan, I'm sure. But Umar would match up very interestingly against either one of them. So that's where he should go. So yeah, those are my takes. Those are my matchups. But let me know in the comments what y'all think about what the UFC has said about these middle of the night cards. Let me know what matchups y'all have, if y'all think I'm crazy for the ones that I picked. But yeah, until next time.